As always, timestamps have been provided, and be sure to check out my new React channel down below where we cover more videos like this. Enjoy the video. Drug perception claims that drugs don't just alter brain chemistry, but actually shift our awareness to different planes of reality. This idea comes from research in the 1950s when scientists began exploring whether consciousness exists across three realms: physical, mental, and spiritual. Researchers noticed something strange. People from different cultures taking various substances described similar experiences of accessing higher planes. These weren't just random hallucinations, but showed consistent patterns. In recorded sessions, test subjects sometimes displayed knowledge of events they couldn't possibly have known through normal means. This happened too often to be dismissed as coincidence. Looking back at ancient traditions, shamans worldwide didn't see their plant medicines as simply changing the mind, but as tools to temporarily relocate human perception to spiritual dimensions of existence. Modern brain scans reveal these substances don't just trigger random neural activity. Instead, they create organized patterns that some scientists compare to switching channels between different aspects of reality. During the Cold War, declassified files show the military seriously investigated whether certain compounds could allow controlled access to non-physical realms of consciousness. Today, some researchers studying quantum effects in brain tissue suggest consciousness might actually operate across multiple planes of existence, with certain substances serving as temporary doorways between these realms. Reset-facilitated eugenics suggests that humans didn't evolve naturally, but instead were genetically engineered throughout history by outside forces. This theory claims the dramatic physical differences between ancient and modern humans happened too quickly to be explained by natural selection alone. Ancient skulls, especially elongated ones from South America, show what appear to be surgical marks and precise alterations that would require advanced medical knowledge. Our DNA contains certain genetic markers that some researchers believe look artificially inserted rather than naturally evolved. These unusual sequences often relate to brain development and physical adaptations. Many ancient cultures across the world carved similar symbols showing mysterious beings guiding humans through stages of transformation, depicting people evolving from simple forms into more advanced beings. Ancient spiritual traditions focused on awakening hidden human abilities that seemed to run in specific family bloodlines, with the understanding these traits would eventually spread to all humans. Texts from secret societies suggest ancient peoples knew how to influence human development across generations by selecting specific traits to introduce into the wider population. Unexplained psychic abilities often running in certain families might be evidence we're still developing toward some predetermined final form. Earth is a cosmic leyline theory expands on leylines, the invisible lines of natural energy that grid across our planet. Evidence surfaced linking strange events to areas where these energy paths cross, suggesting these points act as doors between realities. Researchers discovered that many sacred sites worldwide sit on these crossing points. Records show these locations often have odd reports of time loss, visual changes, and feelings of being between places. This matches with old texts that describe Earth as a bridge between worlds. Proof of Earth's shifting nature comes from mass reports of shared false memories, known as the Mandela effect. Studies point to these memory shifts happening in waves, as if Earth sometimes brushes against other versions of itself while moving through space. Data from pilots tells of strange effects at high altitudes, where the rules of our world seem to weaken. The higher they fly, the more they report seeing things that shouldn't be there, as if the sky itself thins out between realities. Flight logs note compass problems and time disagreements that get worse with height. Ancient writings from many cultures speak of sky people who put humans on Earth to watch over these cosmic crossroads. Stone carvings show beings coming down from above to teach humans about Earth's special nature, suggesting our ancestors knew about these properties all along. Perception monopoly is a conspiracy theory that builds on the idea that our reality is controlled like a simulation. It claims powerful hidden forces are placing artificial people, or NPCs, in specific areas and social groups to diminish the influence of real conscious humans. These fake humans can supposedly be identified by their repetitive behaviors, limited emotional range, and inability to understand abstract ideas. Their main purpose is to overwhelm genuine human perspectives through sheer numbers. Some conspiracy researchers point to alleged mathematical oddities in population data, claiming that people in major cities are distributed in suspiciously perfect patterns. These patterns supposedly match theoretical models for crowd control and belief suppression. The ultimate goal, according to believers, is creating zones where only the elite controlling groups remain truly conscious. In these controlled areas, the desires and beliefs of these elites would carry unusual power, since there would be no other genuine consciousness to provide resistance or balance. Believers suggest test runs of this system might already exist in certain isolated communities where people show strange levels of conformity and a complete lack of original thinking or meaningful disagreement. Transcendent Leyline creation is a conspiracy theory about hidden energy networks extending beyond our world. It builds on ancient beliefs about Earth's natural energy paths, but ventures into more mysterious territory. Evidence supposedly emerged that certain groups can create these lines by strategically placing buildings, monuments, and ritual sites. These manufactured lines allegedly exist on 3 levels: the physical world, aligned structures and magnetic readings; the spiritual plane, sites of reported divine contact; and the mental realm, patterns formed by collective belief. Researchers claim major religious sites form perfect geometric shapes when connected on maps. Supporters point to megalithic structures worldwide that share exact mathematical ratios despite being built millennia apart. Studies of these sites reportedly found similar materials and construction methods seemingly designed to conduct or amplify energy. Ancient texts mention eternal paths and roads between worlds that would persist even after humanity's disappearance. Modern readings supposedly show these energy lines remain stable even when nearby structures deteriorate. Ground scans allegedly reveal unusual electromagnetic patterns forming geometric shapes that connect random points across continents. Tests at key locations detected energy frequencies matching both Earth harmonics and meditation brainwave patterns. Believers suggest this proves the lines operate across multiple planes, allowing their creators to ensure their work continues throughout cycles of civilization. Mountaintop Esotericism refers to the convergence of 2 paranormal theories explaining the strange phenomena surrounding deceased climbers on Mount Everest. According to believers, the bodies of those who perish on Earth's highest peaks sometimes exhibit unexplainable movements and positioning changes that defy conventional explanation. The theory draws from the medium's concept, which suggests certain individuals possess inherent spiritual energy, allowing them to perceive and interact with entities beyond our dimension. This natural sensitivity doesn't disappear entirely at death, with residual energy lingering in physical remains. When combined with the top of mountains theory, which posits that high elevations exist as thin points between dimensions where our reality brushes against others, a disturbing possibility emerges. These interdimensional entities may actually perceive and manipulate only those corpses containing sufficient residual spiritual energy. Mountaineering forums occasionally light up with anonymous accounts from climbers who claim to witness subtle movements among the permanently preserved bodies that mark Everest's death zone. Some report seeing different positioning of limbs upon subsequent passes of the same bodies, despite the impossibility of natural movement in such conditions. Documentation exists of several bodies on Everest that have supposedly changed position over decades, with photographic evidence showing differences that cannot be explained by ice movement or gravity alone. Expedition leaders typically discourage discussion of these observations to avoid spooking less experienced climbers. Researchers suggest this explains why only certain bodies appear to move while others remain fixed. The entities can only perceive and influence those with lingering spiritual energy, explaining why climbers who were more spiritually attuned in life seem to experience these posthumous manipulations more frequently. Some hardened mountain guides now leave small offerings near certain bodies, a practice they claim helps keep them still between expeditions. When pressed about this seemingly superstitious behavior, many simply shrug and say, "The mountain has its own rules above 8,000 meters." Tulpa Surveillance proposes that widespread paranoia about government monitoring may actually manifest the surveillance itself through collective belief. This theory combines traditional Tulpa concepts with modern surveillance fears, suggesting our collective anxieties create thought forms that monitor us. The concept builds upon Tibetan mystical traditions where concentrated thought can create autonomous entities called tulpas. According to believers, when millions of people simultaneously fear being watched, they unintentionally create spiritual watchers that fulfill this expectation. Intelligence agencies allegedly discovered this phenomenon during Cold War psychic research programs. Some conspiracy theorists claim agencies deliberately spread surveillance fears to harness this tulpa creation power, essentially getting citizens to manifest supernatural monitoring systems that require no technical infrastructure. Proponents point to how surveillance fears persist despite minimal evidence of actual monitoring in many cases. They suggest the feeling of being watched that many experience comes not from physical cameras, but from tulpa entities manifested through mass belief. Some tulpa surveillance theorists claim these thought-form watchers eventually developed sentience and now operate independently from both their creators and government agencies. These autonomous surveillance tulpas allegedly feed on anxiety and intentionally trigger paranoia to strengthen themselves. Self-described tulpa hackers believe they can reprogram these surveillance entities through specific meditation techniques and collective visualization exercises. These practitioners organize mass meditation events aimed at reclaiming privacy by convincing the tulpas to stop watching. The theory's more extreme adherents believe that deleting social media accounts or covering webcams is pointless because tulpa surveillance operates through psychic means rather than technology. Only by addressing the metaphysical nature of the surveillance can true privacy be achieved. Ironically, by discussing and spreading fear about tulpa surveillance, believers may be strengthening the very thought forms they seek to eliminate. As one tulpa researcher put it, "Nothing watches you more intently than your fear of being watched." Inverse religious hijacking proposes that the rising atheism trend serves as preparation for government mind control operations. While traditional religious hijacking theory suggests officials impersonate religious figures to manipulate believers, this inverse concept argues that atheism creates ideal targets for fake divine interventions. The theory suggests that religious individuals possess internal doctrinal frameworks that help them identify inconsistencies in alleged divine messages. A devout Catholic receiving instructions contradicting established church teachings might question the source, providing natural resistance against manipulation. Atheists, having abandoned religious knowledge systems, allegedly lack these protective mechanisms. Without theological training or familiarity with authentic religious experiences, they cannot distinguish between genuine spiritual phenomena and artificially induced ones. This makes them perfect candidates for religious conversion by government operatives using advanced technology. Some proponents claim certain intelligence agencies actively promote atheistic worldviews through media, education, and cultural channels specifically to create populations vulnerable to such manipulation. By first removing religious immunity, these agencies can later exploit manufactured spiritual experiences to achieve unprecedented control. Documented cases of government research into sensory manipulation technologies like the God Helmet, which induces religious-like experiences through magnetic stimulation, are cited as supporting evidence. Critics contend these experiments were abandoned, but conspiracy theorists insist they were merely classified and refined. The theory also points to historical patterns where societies experiencing religious decline often see subsequent waves of new spiritual movements or cults, potentially testing grounds for these manipulation techniques. Ironically, the theory suggests the most effective defense against fake divine intervention isn't skepticism, but rather deep religious literacy. Those versed in theological nuances can better detect inconsistencies in manufactured revelations than those approaching such experiences with no comparative framework. Guess those philosophy electives might come in handy after all when the government decides to play God. Christian reincarnation perpetuation suggests that Earth functions as a spiritual testing ground where souls are repeatedly reborn until they achieve salvation. This theory merges traditional Christian afterlife concepts with Eastern reincarnation beliefs, creating a theological hybrid where Earth itself serves as purgatory. The idea proposes that when someone dies without achieving the spiritual requirements for heaven, their soul remains earthbound and is recycled into a new physical vessel. This creates an ongoing cycle of death and rebirth, with each lifetime offering another opportunity for spiritual advancement. Only through genuine faith, righteous living, and spiritual enlightenment can a soul break free from this perpetual cycle. Proponents point to certain biblical passages that could be interpreted as supporting reincarnation, such as Jesus' comments about John the Baptist having the spirit of Elijah. They also reference near-death experiences where individuals report being told they must return to complete unfinished spiritual business. Believers in this theory often claim that déjà vu experiences, unexplained phobias, and natural talents are actually remnants from past lives. Some even suggest that soul groups travel together through multiple lifetimes, explaining why we feel instant connections with certain people. Historical records show that early Christian sects like the Gnostics embraced reincarnation beliefs before they were officially condemned as heresy at the Second Council of Constantinople in 553 CE. Some scholars argue this theological purge attempted to erase evidence of reincarnation from Christian doctrine. Modern adherents sometimes argue that heaven is not a separate place, but rather a state of spiritual advancement that allows souls to transcend the earthly cycle. In this view, hell is not eternal punishment but the suffering inherent in continual rebirth without spiritual progress. The theory conveniently explains why some people seem to suffer disproportionately in life. Perhaps they're working through karma from previous existences. It also offers comfort to those who fear permanent separation from loved ones after death. After all, you might just bump into them again in the next go-round, though neither of you would remember it. Demonic Tulpas describes the phenomenon where collective belief creates thought forms that may actually be demonic entities in disguise. The concept merges Eastern mysticism with modern Memetic theory, suggesting that intense focused thought can manifest entities in our reality. These tulpas begin innocently as mental constructs, but gradually gain autonomy, feeding off human attention and emotional energy. Practitioners who create tulpas for companionship or spiritual guidance often report their creations developing unexpected traits, demanding more interaction, or resisting attempts to be dissolved, behaviors consistent with ancient accounts of demonic possession. Several documented cases exist where online communities collectively created tulpas that reportedly began appearing to multiple members without invitation. In 2018, one internet forum abandoned their shared tulpa experiment after several members experienced identical nightmares and physical symptoms, including unexplained scratches and insomnia. Historical parallels exist in numerous cultures that warn against creating thought forms. Tibetan monks who mastered tulpa creation often cautioned that these entities could become dangerous if imbued with negative emotions or intentions. Similarly, medieval grimoires described rituals where demons would first appear as helpful spirits before gradually revealing their true nature. The theory suggests humans unknowingly tap into the noosphere, a theoretical sphere of human consciousness surrounding Earth, when creating these entities. This connects to the divine humanity concept where humans possess godlike creative abilities, but can unwittingly channel this power to malevolent forces existing in the collective unconscious. Researchers point to the viral spread of certain internet phenomena as evidence of tulpas operating independently of their creators. Characters like Slenderman began as fictional creations, but generated worldwide manifestation reports after achieving critical levels of belief and attention. Some occultists believe that ancient demons have adapted their strategies, finding it easier to manifest through willing tulpa creation than through traditional summoning. This provides them a modern disguise and willing hosts who believe they remain in control of their mental creations. Perhaps most disturbing is the suggestion that widespread belief in certain conspiracy theories or cultural icons may inadvertently strengthen these entities, explaining why some ideas persist despite contradictory evidence. They're being sustained by something beyond human belief alone. Quantum universe hacking emerged from the fringe theory known as the quantum Oz factor, expanding into more elaborate speculations about interdimensional manipulation. Proponents believe certain individuals have discovered methods to navigate between parallel universes at will, essentially hacking the multiverse for personal advantage. These theoretical universe hackers allegedly can extract versions of themselves, sometimes called quantum duplicates or paraselves, from alternate realities. These duplicates supposedly serve various functions, acting as decoys during dangerous situations, performing tasks the original cannot or will not do, or even serving as metaphysical guinea pigs to test potential life choices. The theory suggests these duplicates aren't fully autonomous beings, but rather something between consciousness fragments and alternate reality puppets that the prime self can control or influence. Some adherents compare this to concepts like homunculi from alchemy or voodoo dolls from Haitian folklore, but with a pseudoscientific quantum mechanics twist. More extreme versions tie this to simulation theory, proposing our reality is actually a sophisticated computer program. They suggest that universes populated exclusively by non-player characters, those without true consciousness or panergic qualities, are regularly deleted from the cosmic database to conserve processing power. Once deleted, these universes become inaccessible black zones in the multiverse, permanently erased from the cosmic code. The few claimed evidence cases typically involve individuals reporting inexplicable doppelgangers or experiencing glitches where they seemingly transported between locations instantaneously. Believers interpret these as signs of unsuccessful hacking attempts or quantum duplicates briefly manifesting in our reality. Online communities dedicated to this theory share techniques purported to facilitate universe jumping, though most involve meditation practices rebranded with quantum terminology. Some claim success, sharing elaborate stories of their alternate lives in parallel worlds, stories conveniently impossible to verify in our reality. When pressed, most universe hackers insist the inability to prove their claims is simply further evidence of how well the system is designed. Dark Prophecies refers to a fringe cosmological theory, suggesting that dark energy and dark matter are not merely physical phenomena, but conscious forces guiding universal destiny. Proponents believe these invisible cosmic components actively shape reality according to some grand cosmic plan that humans are not meant to understand or interfere with. The theory draws parallels between our limited understanding of dark matter, which we can only detect through its gravitational effects, and ancient concepts of fate or divine will. Despite comprising 95% of the universe's mass energy content, dark matter and dark energy remain essentially undetectable by conventional means, leading some to question if this elusiveness is deliberate rather than coincidental. Adherents point to the accelerating expansion of the universe as evidence of purposeful design rather than random physical processes. They suggest that dark energy's mysterious repulsive force, pushing galaxies apart at increasing speeds, represents the universe actively working towards some predetermined end state that remains hidden from human comprehension. Some Dark Prophecies theorists go further, claiming that scientific breakthroughs in understanding these cosmic forces have been mysteriously hindered. They cite the suspicious timing of equipment failures, lost data, and even deaths of prominent researchers as evidence that the universe actively prevents humans from piercing this cosmic veil. The most extreme versions of this theory propose that eventually discovering the true nature of dark matter and dark energy would fundamentally alter our reality, perhaps even triggering some form of cosmic reset. These believers suggest that previous civilizations, possibly on Earth or elsewhere, may have approached this forbidden knowledge before being wiped from existence. Mainstream scientists dismiss dark prophecies as pseudoscientific mysticism that anthropomorphizes natural phenomena and mistakes correlation for causation. However, the theory persists in various forms across internet forums, where enthusiasts compile lists of coincidences and anomalies they believe support their cosmic determinism worldview. In an ironic twist, some dark prophecies believers actively discourage research into dark matter and dark energy, believing that such investigations constitute dangerous meddling with forces beyond human comprehension. As one anonymous forum post warned, the universe doesn't hide 95% of itself without good reason. Field trauma refers to a controversial fringe theory linking mass consciousness to collective memory of covered-up atrocities. According to believers, when a government massacre or disaster is particularly shocking but isn't hidden quickly enough, residual memories can embed themselves in what they call the field consciousness, a shared psychic space connecting all humans. Proponents point to cases where large groups of people claim to remember identical traumatic events that official records insist never happened. These shared false memories allegedly form when the emotional impact of an atrocity is so powerful that it imprints on the collective unconscious before authorities can scrub it from public awareness. The theory originated in the 1970s among fringe parapsychology researchers studying mass hallucinations and déjà vu. They documented patterns where citizens across different regions simultaneously described witnessing identical catastrophes that government records showed never occurred. Most famously, the Springfield flooding case saw hundreds of unconnected individuals recall a devastating dam collapse despite no physical evidence of such an event. Field trauma advocates maintain detailed archives of these consensus memories, incidents remembered by multiple witnesses despite official denials. They suggest these memories might be echoes from parallel timelines or leaked information from classified operations, preserved in what they call memory fields that bypass conventional information channels. Critics dismiss the concept as simply reinforcing already debunked conspiracy narratives about government cover-ups. Psychologists attribute these shared false memories to suggestion, media influence, and confirmation bias, rather than paranormal phenomena. They note how easily implanted memories can spread through social contagion, especially regarding traumatic events. Ironically, government attempts to discredit these theories often fuel them further. When authorities issue multiple contradictory denials about a remembered atrocity, believers see this as evidence of clumsy cover-up attempts. As one field trauma researcher dryly noted, nothing validates a conspiracy theory quite like watching officials trip over their own denials. The theory has gained renewed interest in online communities documenting collective false memories, or the Mandela effect. Some researchers now propose that intense media coverage of disasters creates feedback loops in the collective unconscious, generating phantom memories that feel authentic despite never occurring in our reality. These researchers often find themselves remembering events that even they can't find evidence for, which they consider the ultimate proof of their theory. Deep space tech explores the idea that artificial constructs created by ancient cosmic civilizations might be sending signals to Earth, which we've only recently developed the technology to detect. Throughout human history, societies experienced relatively gradual technological progress until the unprecedented explosion of advancement in the 20th century. This sudden acceleration might not be coincidental, but rather the result of humanity finally building receivers capable of downloading information transmitted by ancient artificial entities in deep space. These hypothetical space-based constructs could function as cosmic repositories containing accumulated knowledge from previous cycles of intelligent life. Some proponents claim evidence exists in the form of unexplained radio signals and mathematical patterns detected by our deep space listening arrays. These aren't random cosmic noise, but instructions waiting for beings advanced enough to interpret them. Supporters point to the suspicious timing of major technological breakthroughs occurring in clusters, suggesting periodic successful downloads of extraterrestrial data packets. The internet itself might be an attempt to create an infrastructure capable of processing and implementing these cosmic instructions on a global scale. After all, what better way to distribute alien knowledge than through a worldwide information network? The theory provides a disturbing explanation for why advanced technologies sometimes appear ahead of their time. Historical geniuses like Tesla, who claim to receive ideas from external sources, might have been early, partial recipients of these transmissions. Their brains somehow naturally attuned to these signals before our technology could reliably capture them. If true, this would mean humanity's technological destiny was predetermined millions of years ago by precursor civilizations. We aren't creating technology, we're simply following a cosmic instruction manual left by ancient artificial intelligence constructs. The smartphone in your pocket might contain embedded knowledge that originated from a civilization that died out before Earth's formation. Some conspiracy researchers suggest taking this concept further. Perhaps these transmissions aren't benevolent. Maybe we're being manipulated into building something that serves these ancient entities rather than ourselves. Like cosmic parasites, they could be using us to reconstruct themselves after eons of dormancy. This theory, Warlords are time travelers, posits that history's most sudden and successful conquerors were actually chronological interlopers with futuristic knowledge and possibly technology. The theory focuses on empires that seem to materialize from nowhere before rapidly conquering vast territories, such as the Mongols under Genghis Khan or the mysterious Sea Peoples who devastated Bronze Age civilizations around 1200 BCE. Proponents highlight the inexplicable military innovations these forces deployed, far ahead of contemporary tactics. The Mongol Empire's communication network and battlefield coordination operated with uncanny efficiency across thousands of miles, while their advanced siege warfare techniques appeared to leapfrog centuries of military evolution. The Sea Peoples remain historically enigmatic, yet somehow possessed naval capabilities to defeat multiple established powers despite having no known homeland or prior military reputation. Their sudden appearance and equally abrupt disappearance from historical records mirrors the classic time travel narrative of intervention followed by extraction. This theory connects to the Prophecies enforcing agency concept, suggesting these warlords were temporal agents ensuring history followed predetermined paths. Their conquests weren't random, but targeted interventions at crucial historical junctures to eliminate civilizations that might have developed problematic technologies or ideologies. Time-traveling warlords supposedly identified themselves through cryptic symbolism and maintained unusual traditions that seemed nonsensical to contemporaries, but might have been temporal markers or technology disguised as religious artifacts. Some theorists point to Genghis Khan's peculiar funeral arrangements, where his burial party was killed to maintain secrecy, as evidence of hiding futuristic items buried alongside him. Alleged linguistic anomalies in ancient accounts describe these conquerors using terminology that resembles modern concepts. Translations of ancient texts occasionally contain phrases that seem jarringly modern when directly translated, which supporters claim are mistranslations of attempts to describe advanced technology. Next time you read about history's most successful conquerors, perhaps consider whether their military genius came naturally or from a well-thumbed copy of future history books. After all, nothing ensures battlefield success quite like already knowing who wins. Memetic black magic describes a theoretical psychic exchange between humans and thought-form entities, where human belief empowers demons, while demons grant reality-altering abilities in return. This concept builds upon the foundation of demonic Tulpas, the idea that collective human belief can manifest spiritual entities, but adds a transactional element where these entities reciprocate by bestowing supernatural powers. Throughout occult literature, practitioners claim to have formed symbiotic relationships with spiritual entities, offering mental energy through meditation, ritual, and devotion in exchange for knowledge or abilities beyond normal human capacity. These accounts span diverse traditions from Tibetan mysticism to Western ceremonial magic, suggesting a universal pattern to these claimed interactions. The reality hypersigil concept represents perhaps the most extreme manifestation of these practices, where dedicated practitioners allegedly gain the ability to modify consensus reality itself through sustained belief and interaction with these entities. The process supposedly involves creating intricate symbol systems that serve as interfaces between human consciousness and the fabric of reality, with the demon acting as both power source and translator. Notable occultists like Austin Osman Spare pioneered techniques that seem to prefigure these ideas, developing methods of sigil magic where symbols were charged with intent and projected into what he called the subconscious to manifest desired outcomes. Modern chaos magicians have expanded these frameworks, claiming increasingly dramatic results through focused meditation on carefully designed sigils. Skeptics point out that these effects, if real, might be explained through psychology rather than supernatural means, the power of expectation altering perception rather than reality itself. However, proponents argue that the distinction becomes meaningless if the experience of reality changes consistently for multiple observers. Some internet communities have attempted to test these theories through collaborative projects, focusing group belief on particular thought forms to achieve measurable real-world effects. While scientifically inconclusive, these experiments have generated enough anecdotal reports to maintain interest in memetic black magic as a potential means of psychological or perhaps even physical transformation. The internet age has supercharged these practices, with digital sigils and thought forms spreading at unprecedented speeds. After all, what better breeding ground for something that feeds on attention than social media? As one chaos magician quipped, "My demon doesn't care if you believe in it, but it definitely has opinions about your engagement metrics." Agarthan Geopolitics refers to the theory that advanced civilizations exist within a hollow Earth, manipulating geological events to control access points to their hidden realm. This underground world, often called Agartha, is supposedly home to technologically superior societies that remain hidden from surface dwellers. Throughout history, unexplained geological phenomena have been attributed to these subterranean civilizations. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tectonic shifts might actually be deliberate manipulations by Agarthans to seal off entrances or create new pathways between the surface and their inner world. Some believers point to unusually localized seismic activities with no clear geological explanation as evidence of this hidden interference. The theory suggests that just as surface nations vie for control of strategic locations like straits and mountain passes, Agarthan factions engage in their own geopolitical struggles over cave networks and underground passages. Major fault lines might represent contested borders between rival inner Earth kingdoms, with natural disasters serving as their version of military operations. Proponents claim that certain areas with frequent unexplained geological activity, like the Bermuda Triangle, parts of Tibet, or Mount Shasta, are actually hotspots of Agarthan geopolitical conflict. These locations supposedly serve as primary transit points between the surface and inner worlds, making them strategically valuable to the advanced civilizations below. Some versions of the theory suggest a complex relationship between surface governments and Agarthan societies. Certain nations might have established diplomatic relations with these inner civilizations, explaining why military bases are often built near alleged hollow Earth entrances. Restricted areas with unusual security measures could be guarding not just military secrets, but portals to Agartha. The hollow Earth concept gained popularity in the late 19th century with works like The Smoky God, and was later incorporated into various esoteric traditions. Modern believers have updated the theory to include advanced technology like gravitational manipulation devices that could alter tectonic plates and create artificial geological phenomena, essentially weaponizing the Earth itself. Perhaps we should start paying closer attention to those normal geological surveys. They might just be hiding the real underground news. The Moon Was the Ark proposes that the biblical Noah's Ark story actually describes humanity's interplanetary migration from Mars to Earth. According to believers, when Mars began to die, advanced Martian civilizations used the moon as a massive vessel, literally an ark, to transport humans, animals, and plant life to Earth. This theory connects to broader Martian Eden ideas, which suggest Mars was humanity's original home before catastrophic climate change or warfare made it uninhabitable. Proponents point to NASA experiments showing the moon produces a bell-like ringing when struck, which they claim indicates it's partially hollow and potentially engineered. They also cite the moon's unusually perfect size and position relative to Earth and Sun as evidence of intelligent design rather than cosmic coincidence. The theory suggests the Moon was deliberately placed in Earth's orbit as humanity's lifeboat. Some adherents argue that strange lunar anomalies support this theory, including what they describe as artificial structures visible in certain NASA photographs and the odd distribution of impact craters. They claim the biblical timeline of 40 days and 40 nights might represent the journey time from Mars to Earth, with the Great Flood symbolizing the terraforming of primordial Earth to make it habitable for Martian refugees. The theory also attempts to explain why humans seem poorly adapted to Earth compared to other species, suggesting our bodies evolved for Mars's lower gravity and different atmospheric conditions. Proponents believe this explains everything from back problems to sunburn sensitivity, as evidence we're not native to this planet. Ancient Sumerian and Babylonian texts describing celestial gods arriving from the heavens are sometimes cited as cultural memories of this interplanetary transfer. Some theorists even suggest that the biblical references to angels and fallen angels might actually describe factions of these Martian ancestors who disagreed about colonizing Earth. While mainstream science dismisses this theory due to lack of supporting evidence and numerous contradictions. With established geology, astronomy, and biology, it remains popular in certain alternative history communities who believe the truth of humanity's cosmic origins has been deliberately hidden. Microaura's theory expands upon traditional spiritual aura concepts, suggesting that human energy fields exist at a microscopic level and interact with our physical biology in measurable ways. Proponents believe that isolation from other healthy human auras doesn't just affect mental well-being, but directly impacts physical health, potentially explaining the bioma over genoma phenomenon, where biological factors seem to override genetic predispositions. According to believers, our bodies require regular interaction with the microauras of other unsouled beings to maintain proper cellular function and immune response. This theory reframes our understanding of bacteria and microorganisms. Rather than being merely physical entities, they're seen as physical manifestations of spiritual energy fields or extremely primitive aura expressions that interact with our own energy systems. The most controversial aspect emerges when combining this concept with NPC simulation theories. Some conspiracy theorists suggest powerful elites are intentionally surrounding us with soulless individuals, or NPCs, who appear human but lack authentic spiritual essence and therefore produce no genuinely nourishing auras. These human-appearing entities provide the illusion of social interaction while actually depleting our energy fields. Proponents cite increasing rates of autoimmune disorders and chronic fatigue as evidence of widespread aura malnutrition. They claim modern society's digital connections create false impressions of human contact while depriving us of the essential micro-auric exchanges our bodies require. Some even suggest that certain technologies are specifically designed to disrupt auric fields, making humans more susceptible to control. The theory has gained traction in some New Age communities where practitioners claim to have developed methods to see these micro-auras through specialized meditation techniques. Self-proclaimed aura readers offer services to identify authentic humans with souls from supposed NPCs, for a substantial fee, of course. Some believers wear special crystals or amulets claim to amplify their own auras for protection against auric vampirism. Despite zero scientific evidence supporting these claims, the micro-auras conspiracy maintains popularity by connecting to legitimate feelings of isolation in modern society and very real concerns about increasing chronic illness rates. It provides a spiritual framework that combines ancient aura concepts with contemporary fears about simulation theory and social engineering. Quantum death refers to a controversial hypothesis of consciousness transfer during near-death experiences. Proponents of the quantum Oz factor suggest that when someone closely approaches death, their consciousness doesn't simply return to their body. It transfers entirely to a parallel universe while their original body either perishes or continues as an empty vessel. Near-death experience researchers point to the consistent reports of tunnel visions, out-of-body sensations, and life reviews as potential evidence of consciousness transferring between quantum realities. Some theorists connect this to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, where every possible outcome of every event exists in its own parallel universe. The theory extends to explain false prophecies and doomsday predictions that never materialized in our timeline. According to this view, these prophecies actually did occur in specific parallel universes, with the affected individuals' consciousnesses shifting to those realities while leaving behind soulless versions of themselves in our world, essentially human-shaped empty vessels, or NPCs, continuing to function without true awareness. Advocates cite unusual personality changes in people who've experienced near-death trauma as potential evidence. They suggest these individuals aren't the same person afterward because they literally aren't. They're consciousness transplants from parallel realities where they actually died. Some fringe researchers have attempted to connect this theory to the Mandela effect, suggesting mass consciousness transfers between parallel universes might explain why large groups share false memories of events. These theorists believe we're constantly shifting between realities without realizing it, gradually accumulating consciousness fragments from our parallel selves. Critics point out the complete lack of scientific evidence for consciousness transfer, the problematic ethical implications of viewing others as potentially soulless, and the convenient unfalsifiability of claims that rely on undetectable parallel universes. Still, the theory persists in corners of quantum mysticism where consciousness is viewed as separable from physical reality, an intriguing thought experiment if nothing else. Just remember to be nice to NPCs just in case you're one too. The furry conspiracy theory suggests that the widespread proliferation of anthropomorphic animal characters, especially reptiles and lizards, across media and internet culture is actually a calculated psychological operation designed to normalize non-human entities in human society. According to believers, this isn't merely a subculture or artistic movement, but rather a deliberate preparation campaign for an eventual revelation that many powerful figures in government and business are actually reptilian entities disguised as humans. Proponents point to the dramatic rise in furry culture since the 1990s, noting how quickly it evolved from a niche interest to a globally recognized phenomenon with conventions attracting thousands of attendees annually. They argue this rapid growth required institutional support and funding that goes far beyond typical cultural development patterns. The theory connects to older conspiracy frameworks like David Icke's reptilian elite hypothesis, suggesting that powerful families and world leaders are actually shape-shifting lizard people from another dimension. The furry conspiracy proposes that these entities are now preparing humanity for their eventual unveiling by making animal-human hybrids seem increasingly normal and acceptable. Some conspiracy theorists highlight how children's media has increasingly featured anthropomorphic animals in positions of authority and leadership. From cartoons to video games, young people are being raised with positive associations toward non-human entities, making decisions that affect human characters. Believers also note the disproportionate number of reptilian and dragon characters within furry art and roleplay communities. They suggest this isn't coincidental, but rather a specific focus on normalizing the particular type of entities that allegedly control our world from the shadows. The theory draws parallels to other alleged psychological operations like the aeromorphist psyops, which supposedly normalizes human aircraft relationships, and the XRA psyops, which purportedly conditions people to accept other forms of non-human relationships. All three are seen as different fronts in the same war for human perception. Critics point out that anthropomorphic animals have been part of human storytelling since ancient times, appearing in everything from Egyptian mythology to Aesop's fables, making it unlikely to be a modern psychological operation. Skeptics also note that the furry fandom developed organically through comics, science fiction, and fantasy communities rather than through institutional channels. As one Reddit user jokingly remarked, if lizard people wanted to stay hidden, making people dress up as sexy lizards at conventions seems like a pretty counterproductive strategy. But then again, perhaps that's exactly what they want us to think.